Hi there. My name's Dr. Jennifer Posa, and I'm an organizational psychologist. I've spent the last 3 decades of my career working within some of the highest performing organizations around the globe. Mayo Clinic, Johnson & Johnson, and most recently was honored to serve as the first Chief Wellbeing Officer at the Central Intelligence Agency. As we celebrate Women's History Month, I wanted to bring to you the experience of speaking with some of the highest performing leaders that I've had the privilege of working with throughout my career. I've had discussions with them and asked if I could share those discussions with you here on the social media platform so that you could hear their thoughts around advice they might give to an individual who's navigating this complex environment and shaping their own leadership journey. I hope you enjoy the discussions. Hi, Emily. It's great to see you.
Great to see you too. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you are welcome. This is my pleasure entirely. So it's Women's History Month, and we are celebrating women. And as I chat with you today, before I get into the questions that I'm going to ask you, I wanted to first share with everybody who's listening a little bit more about you. So I know that you are the vice president at USI Insurance Services, and you're an employee benefits consultant. But really, who is Emily? And could you share a little bit about yourself, like professionally, and then you can throw in some personal things. I wouldn't mind that either.
Sure, absolutely. So my day job is really to help companies construct their healthcare plans. But I can tell you that I don't do my job or my day job because I love insurance. I have a minor obsession with making sure that people have access to affordable health care. And a lot of that has come from like the last 11 years of being a mom of 2 little girls that have special needs, having our own struggles with healthcare navigation, and then just recognizing the affordability crisis that's happening in the US right now when it comes to healthcare. And I do have a type 1 diabetic daughter who teaches us the real meaning of resilience every single day, that I'm just really spending a lot of time trying to find a cure for. So I try to spread that personal love into my professional life as well.
Wow, that's awesome. You're not only helping your children, but you're helping so many others in what you do. You and I could spend a lot of time talking about our work and the meaning of our work all day long, but I want to ask you a question that I've been asking other women leaders in my world, which are, you're now well into your career, clearly successful in not only achieving, professional success, but clearly doing a pretty darn good job as a mom to these 2 lucky girls. If you could share 3 nuggets of advice with women out there that are really looking to design a life that is defined by really strong success and performance in their work life, but also in their personal lives, what would those 3 pieces of advice be?
First and foremost, there's a quote by Maya Angelou that is similar to people may not remember what you say, but they'll remember how you make them feel. And I try to think about that often. And this year, my New Year's resolution actually was to be more curious and less judgmental. And I think that kind of coincides with making sure that I make people feel comfortable, that they can trust me, and that more than anything, that I really and truly want to help them get through whatever challenging situation they're going through. So I think it's very, very important to make people feel good, and it really, expedites the trust factor. And if people don't know, like, and trust you, they're probably not going to want to be around you, do business with you, etc. So I'd say that's one that I really think has gone a long way in my career. Um, Resilience and relationships, in my opinion, they really equate to excellence. So, and you have to have both of those two things in order to have an excellent career, relationship, whatever. So, job title isn't meaningful to me, but making sure that people know, their worth, their well-being, the fact that resilience is so important and that there's no real guide or manual for this thing called life. I mean, we've had in our just small family unit, we've had so many challenges to navigate. And, I try to navigate them with grace. Doesn't always happen, but try to you do what you can with the resources that you have. And I know that in my position at USI and doing what I do for a living, that I have a lot more resources than others, an understanding of how healthcare works. So I try to take that resilience that we've learned as a family, plus, what I do every day in making sure that, I'm not judgmental and that I am truly helpful and making people feel good about working with me. It all kind of goes hand in hand, in my opinion.
That's great. So let me just back us up to your first one and your second one, because I think they kind of tie nicely together.
Mm-hmm.
I think your first one was around with Maya's quote, which, oh, by the way, is a favorite of mine as well, is, pay attention to how you make people feel, because that is what has helped you, if you will, stay grounded with how you impact the world. That's what I heard from you. Is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. I recognize that myself and, all of the hard work that I've done over the years to get to my position and to help all of these large companies, which effectively allows for me to help, lots of their employees. I don't take any of that for granted, and I think remaining really humble and anchored to the need to and the want to just help people in general is really important. And it's definitely something that I try to teach my girls, because humility is a fleeting attribute, in my opinion, these days.
Yeah, really good guidance. The other one that you talked about, which was resilience and paying that forward. So how do you think women can learn greater resilience? Or how have you become so resilient? Have there been role models? Have there been advisors? Have you surrounded yourself with people? Have you self-educated yourself? Because I do think, resilience is something that we obviously can build. But I'm curious, Emily, how would you give others a tip around building their own resilience and recognizing that you can?
Yeah. So I definitely have role models. I mean, one of my major role models in my life is my grandmother. And forgive me as I tear up to talk about her, because I miss her so much. But her name was Evelyn, and she passed away about 8 years ago. She almost made it to 100. So when I saw you post about your grandma, I was like, oh, what I would give for like one more game of double solitaire. But when she was in the 50s, she was a single mom, the epitome of style and substance. And she's the reason why that most members of my family are as hardworking as they are. She retired early as a Latin, French, and English teacher after her and my grandfather divorced. And she started in insurance and went on to be one of the first women sales leaders at Lincoln National, in a time where a woman's role was really relegated to more of a support function, but not my Nana. So I mean, I think about being a woman in sales, a woman in insurance, and I often, like I'm glancing at her photo right here on my desk, but I often look to her and think like, what would Nana have done? And she probably wouldn't have taken no for an answer. She probably would have gone out and done something kind for someone who maybe said no to her or, didn't give her the business or, whatever. Um, but I just can't imagine like the struggles and the roadblocks that she may have experienced being in corporate America in the 50s. And I've always admired her resilience and ambition. So um, I often just think of her and, I talk to my girls a lot about her. I talk to clients about her because I think storytelling is key, to be able to really develop that connection. Um, and she just is always like set the bar pretty high for us. And then
Wow.
I'd also talk about RBG. I mean, when you talk about a woman who is a role model, like all that she went through, the challenges, the hurdles, the trailblazing. And what's funny is that her and my Nana were both just tiny little people and like had so much strength and so much personality and just so much intent to do good things in this world. And so I often think of her as well. And her birthday is actually the same day as my youngest, Morgan, who
Oh, wow.
herself had some struggles when she was a baby. And so we always say that Morgan is just this small but mighty little person and the biggest heart in the tiniest little body. And here she is. So I'd say, RBG, my Nana, and then now my littles are probably right up there in terms of my role models.
Is this Morgan?
This is Morgan.
Hi, Morgan. It's so nice to meet you. Do you love that mom's talking about you? Yeah. That means she pretty much loves you very much. That was precious, to be honest. I remember when my children were that age, and that would happen to me all of the time.
Oh my God.
And, it's this thing where it's like professionally, you're like, oh gosh, is this going to be okay? And not certainly with our conversation. I love it. She can come back anytime. Morgan, you can hang out for the rest of the discussion that we had. But you remember, during those times, especially during COVID, when there was periods where you weren't sure whether or not the other folks on the other side of the screen were going to, again, judge, assume, maybe place different expectations on you, or, I mean, there's a lot in that. So, and I don't know, I think that was pretty cool that's how she responded. So clearly this is something that you guys talk about a lot.
All the time.
And, with Evelyn and her impact on you as a family member and understanding those struggles, I mean, I think about that a lot with role models that I have. And I say, in so many ways, were they in the right generation or the wrong generation? And I used to think they were in the wrong generation because she would have been uber successful now, and this might have been her time. But Emily, if she wasn't in the 50s doing this, where would we be today?
Right.
So, I mean, that's like the entire beauty of Women's History Month. And I don't know if you know this, but I've learned since chatting about, the discussions I'm having with yourself and other leaders this month, that in other countries, like Russia and Brazil, they celebrate this as an international holiday. So it's really so important. And that's International Women's Day. But it's just incredible when we look back on the people. Like I think about my grandmother. I know you mentioned when I posted about, the 99-year-old mother of my partner online. And I mean, these women are just incredible. My grandmother lived until she was 97 independently until 3 months before she passed. I mean, just absolutely incredible. Anyway, we could talk forever about our family members and the strong, resilient women in our lives, it sounds like. But I will tell you that I think I just was writing down a few things that you were saying. And I think if I can just double stomp a little bit for those listening, paying attention to how you make people feel is really a very strong skill to have as you grow your own leadership, whether it be in the workplace or in life. The second thing I heard from you was really having a sense of humility and always paying it forward has been a strategy that you've had that has really influenced your life and your own well-being at work probably, but also in your life, right, with those challenges. And then that kind of brings me to the resilience of knowing and having, I think a lot about expectations. And as I've gotten older, realizing that my expectations really do impact my reality. And it sounds like you've used the strategy from a resilience perspective to have expectations of not entitlement, but privilege and opportunity. And I try to teach my 3 girls, I've got one more than you, that, opportunities in life come from, what the work you do, but with every opportunity, there's more work, but to be grateful for that opportunity in the first place, that it landed on you. And then understanding that everything isn't going to be easy. In fact, some of the best things in life are the challenges and the failures and the abilities to see the truth in what you don't really want to see, right? I mean, your grandmother went through that too, I'm sure, in her struggles as a single mom. And, I share that path with her because I was a single mom for 6.5 years. So, Emily, this has been great. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with anybody who's listening that maybe would be important for you so that you can, add anything else to the conversation? Because this is ours to have and ours to define today.
I think I would like to mention that it's so important to recognize where you can make an impact and act on that. So sometimes there's a fear of the unknown, a fear of trying something new. But a couple of years ago, like when my daughter Kendall was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, it was an immediate intersection for me personally and professionally, because I will do anything to find a cure for her in hopefully my lifetime, not just hers. But recognizing the parallels between our personal struggles with challenges with type 1 diabetes, but then also the impact that I can make professionally now. And I really went out on a limb to try to do some advocacy work on the Hill. I'm actually going back to the Hill on Monday to use both my personal and professional lives in an intersection to try to do good things for this community that I never wanted to be a part of, but to really use what I know and understand and see every day around, insulin affordability and access to technology and whatnot to make every day better for these families. And I fully recognize, our let's say, my daughter has access to everything that she needs for her type 1, and I recognize that other families don't. So to work harder than necessary to bring that access to others is an example that I could provide about taking a leap of faith. I mean, I didn't want anything to do with Washington, D.C. ever. And here I am going, at least once a year to try to advocate. So, I mean, it's been a great experience for me. It's definitely increased my confidence that, I can sit down and talk to a congressman, a congresswoman, about
Mhm.
it. I mean, they're just people like us who maybe just don't understand the trials and tribulations that we go through every day. So in summary, I guess I would just say, like, take that leap of faith, like recognize where you have the ability to make an impact on something, some people, and just go out and do it, because I mean, you only live once. We have a very narrow window of opportunity to really make an impact, um, in our sphere of influence. And I think it's really important to truly try to take that leap.
That's awesome. Vote of confidence from Emily Adams to all of you, right? Just do it. Lead the change.
Just
So, Emily, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time and sharing your meaningful story and a little bit more about you personally and why you do what you do. So thank you for being the role model that you are, and also sharing yours with us. So
thank
this
you for
is
giving me the
fantastic.
opportunity, and I appreciate the invitation, and thank you for everything that you do for women as well. Just keep leading the charge and doing great things.
Yeah, we're in it together.